Hi, my name's Joanne Doherty and I'd love to tell you about the work we're doing at St Bernard's because I believe in it and more importantly, it works. I want learning success for every student in our school at all times. I want them to walk away feeling positive about themselves as people, but positive about themselves as learning and feel that they can do this.
Here at St Bernard's, we were the first certified visible learning school in the Southern Hemisphere, and our school is modelled for what we have done over the last 5 years. So what does that mean?
Far too often we get obsessed about how we teach and professional learning on teaching. What visible learning is removing that focus on teaching to having a massive focus on the impact of that teaching on the learning lives of kids.
Visible learning allows us to give students the tools, the qualities to be successful. And if we can do that in a primary school, we give them the keys to success, not only for secondary school, but for life.
A great learner at St Bernard's is confident in themselves and is not afraid.
Someone that's ready to take on any challenge.
Confident.
We have this thing called a learning intention, and it tells us what to do and how we can be successful during learning.
I think a good learner has a go, because if you don't have a go, you never know.
Our journey began 5 years ago and it was a just-in-time moment. Our students didn't have a language of learning. Our teachers were looking at achievement rather than progress. We were offered an opportunity through Catholic Education Melbourne to be part of a pilot program called the Collaborative Impact Strategy. The Collaborative Impact Strategy allowed us to work within the research and evidence of Professor John Hattie and his work around visible learning, which looks at the many things which impact learning, some of them positively and some of them negatively. And that research allowed us to see, and still does to this day, what makes a dramatic impact, a positive impact on student learning. Visible learning is not a program. It's actually a way of thinking, doing and being, and it permeates every single thing we do.
Central to everything that we do is the student, knowing our students, having data to know where our students are starting from, knowing what we need to support them with, and knowing the where to next to make sure we have learning success for all students. We want our students to be assessment capable, but what does that mean? Being assessment capable is actually about our students knowing where they're at, what's their next learning goal, and what they need to do to succeed to get to that goal. We want our students to be successful because they actually know the where to next in their learning success.
You don't always know when you're successful, but some ways to tell that you are successful is that people are giving you really good feedback.
When you're not always asking the teacher straight away, you're asking other people, and you don't give up straight away, and you keep on trying till you get it right. When you've done something really good and you get feedback, really good feedback,
And you have checked and you have used your prior knowledge.
What does that look like when a student is sitting in a classroom? Well, it starts with the learning intention. The learning intention is based on the Victorian curriculum as a base. We actually break that down into success criteria. So to be successful, what does that look like? At that surface level, when you learn something for the very first time, or when you've got a deeper understanding about a particular topic and you've got confidence in that, or how do you transition an idea in mathematics into real context?
In my classroom, the use of success criteria is so important because when students get stuck or they face a challenge, one of the things that they do is they direct themselves to that success criteria. They can then come and talk to me or one of their peers, check where they are, check their understanding, and then hopefully use that to guide their next step in their learning independently.
So you might hear a lot about visible learning at St Bernard's, but what it means as a parent from a practical perspective is that it really allows children to understand what needs to be done So even if your child is doing really well or your child has a few challenges, there's always an opportunity for them to improve on their own learning in their own time.
This actually helps students become those type of learners that know how to problem solve.
The learning intention and success criteria helps us a lot because you sort of know what goal you have to finish by the end. So if it's like to complete a task like writing a paragraph, you'd know what to put into your paragraph, or like what type of language you would have to put in. I know when I'm successful when I check off all my success criteria on my successful list, because we've got this thing called a success criteria, and you mark off what you've done and what you haven't, and it's really helpful when you're trying to keep organised and learn and to follow the learning intention.
I've rechecked my work, there's no spelling mistakes, everything sounds right, has a lot of detail and adjectives.
And I know that I'm successful if I just have a go, because if you have a go, you know you're learning, and that's what school's about.
We've got learner qualities that we explain and work with our students about the dispositions that support them now and long term.
Visible learners at St Bernard's are able to be self-directed, they're able to be resilient, persistent, they're able to take risks, they're able to give and receive feedback, they're able to see mistakes as opportunities to learn.
It's about making mistakes and being challenged by those mistakes and learning from them, because we know that if a student actually feels comfortable, if they've got positive relationships with their peers, then they will show learning success. What we then do is we work with our students to know where they are at, each individual student, and what their learning success is going to be today, in tomorrow's lesson, and setting learning goals and providing feedback to our students about that learning success as they go along.
A good learner at St Bernard's is someone who always looks upon their feedback and never gives up in their learning, always improving in whatever they do in all areas of their learning.
Ready to learn and always helping others.
They can help their friends out but not tell them the direct answer, so they can have a turn of actually figuring out themselves.
On a practical level, when I teach PE, what I want to see the children be able to do is make decisions. I want to see them be able to work collaboratively in a group and work with each other. I also want them to be able to give each other feedback, whether that be positive feedback or maybe sometimes even things as a group they need to improve on.
If you went into a school like St Bernard's, you would see visible learning in action in the classroom. You would see students engaged in the challenge of learning. They're not just doing things for the sake of doing work, they want to be challenged in their work. They're prepared to not know and make failures. They're prepared to speak aloud about how they go about thinking. And the teachers are teaching these students about that language of learning. Like most of us, even as adults, struggle to explain how we learn. But at St Bernard's, that's one of the focuses of the school, to help the students learn that language of learning. We have this notion of the learning pad, where at that time it's okay to not know. It's okay to work with your fellow students, to make connections and ideas. So this is what you see at a visible learning school, but more importantly, this is what you hear. You hear that language amongst the students. They're not compliant. They don't come to school just to sit up straight, hand the work in and watch the teacher work. They are the ones that are doing the most work in the class, and that's where the excitement is.
So, when I was in the pit with a math question, all of my friends and I were working together to solve it, and it was one of the tricky ones. It was kind of hard at that point, and what I did was just kept going and tried to find other solutions to it.
Visible learning permeates everything we do at St Bernard's. It's wonderful when the children are learning, they speak a common language, and they also know exactly where they are in their learning, and of course where to go to achieve the next stage. They receive feedback from teachers, from their peers, and they're also able to give feedback, which is a wonderful experience and something children need to learn how to do. And then the great joy for me is then seeing the children act on that feedback when I see them put that skill into operation and they do it perfectly. That gives me a great deal of pleasure to see the process that the children think through, work through, and then they can see positive results from that.
It's all like the enthusiasm of the people in our class, and it's really like it really helps because when people support you and it's so good because they're always there to support you.
Yeah, and I love that you can have a voice at St. Bernard's. They let you express your feelings, and without that, I feel like I wouldn't it'd just not be fun.
Yeah.
In the 5-6 classroom, the students really embrace getting feedback from each other. They get it from the teacher, and they can also get it from the students themselves.
I always ask my peers, what can I do to improve? And I always get them to look over my writing and tell me the areas that I need to work on, because usually when I look at my writing, I don't see the things that they might see. Feedback helps me because it really tells you what to do to get to the next level.
You have to create an incredibly high trust environment in the class, not just between the teacher and the student, but among the students. But the key, you have to also do that in the staff room. When I went and visited St Bernard's, I saw that in spades, that they were collectively trying to work on issues. I saw it in the language of the students, in the application they put in to become a Visible Learning accredited school. It was patently clear that they knew what the right focus is. They had a really good understanding of what impact meant. They really understood what a year's growth for a year's input meant. And they did it and aimed for all the students. They had very high expectations and they delivered.
When you come into our great school, one of the major things that you will hear different in our students is they have a voice around their learning. They have a control and an understanding of what learning success looks like and how to work with their peers, their teachers, and across the school to make sure that we provide the best learning opportunity for all students at all times.
I think it's very important to incorporate other people into your work, or if you're not sure about what you're doing, you would usually ask a peer.
When we were doing cryptorhythms, I got stuck on this one question. It was really tricky because I hadn't learned this before, but learning with my peers really helped me.
People might have different ideas and you can work all together, and then you'll have a whole group of big ideas.
When we first began this program, our students couldn't articulate what a learner was. They said it was sitting up straight, pleasing the teacher, smiling, putting your hand up. I saw a video 5 years ago of a school in New Zealand. I walked away from that thinking, was that scripted? How could that even happen? That's not real. And what I'm so proud of is that today, our students can do that. They have a language of learning. It's been 5 years of work and we're in the learning pit at times because learning is messy. But our students know what learning is about. And I am so proud because I have seen how this makes an impact for them.